The sleek, silver spacecraft pierced Earth's atmosphere, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to human detection systems. Inside, Dr. Zixlor, a renowned cynoanthropologist from the planet Galuria, prepared for his first encounter with the primitive species known as humans. Zixlor's 6 eyes blinked in rapid succession as he reviewed his mission parameters on the holographic display before him. The Galurian High Council had tasked him with a covert 7-day observation of Earth's dominant species. His people had been monitoring human broadcasts for decades, and the consensus was clear. Humans were a volatile, unpredictable race barely out of their technological infancy. As the ship touched down in a secluded forest clearing, Zixlor activated his biomimetic suit. His gelatinous, iridescent body shimmered and contorted, taking on the appearance of an average human male. He had chosen the identity of Dr. John Smith, a visiting professor of anthropology, as his cover. Stepping out of the ship, Zixlor took his first breath of Earth's air. The oxygen-rich atmosphere felt heavy in his lungs, a stark contrast to Galuria's methane-based ecosystem. He allowed himself a moment to acclimate before setting off towards the nearest human settlement. The small town of Millbrook appeared on the horizon as Zixlor crested a hill. He marveled at the quaint structures, so different from the towering crystal spires of his homeworld. Humans scurried about their daily lives, unaware of the alien observer in their midst. Zixlor's first stop was the local diner, a gathering place he had identified as ideal for observing human social interactions. The bell above the door chimed as he entered, drawing curious glances from the patrons. He took a seat at the counter, mimicking the posture of those around him. A waitress approached, her name-tag greeting Sally. She smiled warmly. "What can I get for you, hon?" Zixlor faltered for a moment, realizing he hadn't prepared for this interaction. He quickly scanned the menu board behind the counter. "I'll have a cheeseburger and fries, please," he said, proud of his flawless English pronunciation. As he waited for his food, Zixlor eavesdropped on nearby conversations. He was struck by the range of topics discussed, from mundane daily activities to passionate debates about politics and philosophy. These creatures, he thought, were far more complex than initial reports had suggested. The cheeseburger arrived, and Zixlor cautiously took a bite. His taste buds, recalibrated to human standards, exploded with flavor. It was unlike anything he had experienced on Galuria. He found himself devouring the meal with unexpected enthusiasm. Over the next few days, Zixlor immersed himself in human culture. He attended a local town hall meeting, visited the public library, and even ventured into a noisy establishment called a bar. Each experience challenged his preconceptions about humanity. At the town hall, he witnessed passionate debate about a new recycling initiative. The humans displayed a surprising concern for their environment, something Zixlor hadn't expected from a species still reliant on fossil fuels. In the library, he marveled at the wealth of knowledge humans had accumulated. From ancient philosophy to cutting-edge scientific journals, the breadth of human inquiry astounded him. He spent hours poring over texts, his opinion of human intellectual capacity growing with each page turned. The bar experience was particularly enlightening. Here, humans engaged in social bonding rituals involving the consumption of ethanol-based beverages. Zixlor observed as inhibitions lowered and conversations flowed freely. He was fascinated by the complex web of social dynamics at play. On the 4th day of his mission, Zixlor decided to visit a human educational institution. He made his way to the local high school, where he had arranged to give a guest lecture on ancient cultures, a subject he felt confident discussing given his vast knowledge of Earth's history. As he stood before the class of teenagers, Zixlor felt a twinge of nervousness. These young humans stared at him with a mix of boredom and curiosity. He began his lecture, speaking about the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. To his surprise, the students engaged enthusiastically. They asked probing questions about the societal structures of long-gone empires and drew parallels to modern-day issues. Zixlor found himself genuinely impressed by their critical thinking skills. One student, A girl with bright green hair raised her hand. "Dr. Smith, do you think humanity is doomed to repeat the mistakes of these ancient civilizations?" The question caught Zixlor off guard. He pondered for a moment before responding. History does have a tendency to rhyme, if not repeat. However, humanity's greatest strength lies in its ability to learn and adapt. The very fact that you're asking this question shows a level of awareness that gives me hope for your species' future. The words had left his mouth before he could fully process them. Zixlor realized, with a start, that he meant what he said. These humans, with all their flaws and limitations, possessed a potential that he was only beginning to understand. As the week progressed, Zixlor found himself increasingly drawn into human society. He attended a local sports event, cheering alongside passionate fans as teams competed in a game called basketball. The display of athleticism and strategy impressed him, but it was the sense of community in the stands that truly caught his attention. He visited an art gallery, where human creativity was on full display. The abstract expressions of emotion and thought through various mediums left him in awe. On Galleria, art was purely functional. Here, it served as a window into the human soul. Throughout his interactions, Zixlor noticed a common thread: resilience. Whether facing personal hardships or global challenges, humans exhibited a remarkable ability to adapt and persevere. This quality, more than any technological achievement, set them apart from other species he had encountered. As his 7th day on Earth drew to a close, Zixlor prepared to return to his ship and compile his report for the Galurian High Council. He walked through the town one last time, taking in the sights and sounds that had become familiar over the past week. Passing by the diner where he had first arrived, Zixlor noticed Sally, the waitress, helping an elderly man across the street. It was a small act of kindness, unremarkable to most, but it crystallized something in Zixlor's mind. Humanity, for all its flaws and primitive nature, possessed a spark of something truly special. Their capacity for empathy, their drive to improve, and their unwavering spirit in the face of adversity were qualities that even his advanced civilization could learn from. As he reached the outskirts of town, Zixlor's biomimetic suit flickered and faded, revealing his true Galurian form. He took one last look at Millbrook before boarding his ship, knowing that his report would shape his people's view of humanity for years to come. The spacecraft hummed to life, preparing for the journey home. But as Zixlor initiated the launch sequence, a blinding flash lit up the night sky. Alarms blared throughout the ship, warning of a massive electromagnetic pulse. Zixlor's heart raced as he realized his mission was far from over. Something unprecedented was happening on Earth, and he was about to witness humanity's response to a crisis that threatened their very existence. To be continued in Part 2, Unexpected Crisis. Unexpected Crisis. The electromagnetic pulse that lit up the night sky was just the beginning. As Zixlor's ship systems came back online, he realized the scope of the disaster unfolding on Earth was far greater than he had initially thought. Across the globe, power grids failed, communications networks went dark, and chaos erupted in major cities. Zixlor's advanced sensors picked up readings of a massive solar flare, the likes of which humanity had never experienced. The Earth's magnetic field, usually a stalwart defender against such cosmic events, had been weakened by decades of pollution and climate change. Now, it had failed to fully protect the planet from this devastating assault. Zixlor knew he had a choice to make. His mission parameters strictly forbade interference with the observed species, but the scientist in him couldn't bear the thought of losing this opportunity to study humanity's response to a global crisis. Against his better judgment, he decided to stay. Cloaking his ship once more, Zixlor reactivated his human disguise and made his way back to Millbrook. The small town was in disarray, but not the state of panic he had expected. As he approached the town center, he saw Mayor Thompson standing on a makeshift platform, addressing a crowd of concerned citizens. Friends, neighbors, the mayor's voice rang out, steady despite the circumstance. We face an unprecedented challenge, but we are not alone. Every town, every city across our nation, across the world, is in the same boat. We will get through this together. Zixlor marveled at the mayor's ability to instill calm in the face of catastrophe. He watched as the townspeople organized themselves into groups, each tackling a different aspect of their new reality. Some focused on securing food and water supplies, others on establishing a local communication network using old ham radios that had survived the EMP. As days passed, Zixlor found himself drawn into the town's efforts. His advanced knowledge, carefully disguised as academic expertise, proved invaluable in solving some of the more complex problems they faced. One afternoon, as he helped a group of engineers jury-rig a solar power system for the town's medical clinic, Zixlor overheard a conversation that piqued his interest. "Did you hear about the meteor shower last night?" One of the engineers, a woman named Rachel, asked her colleague. "Meteor shower? I thought all our detection systems were fried," the other engineer, Mark, replied. Rachel shook her head. "It wasn't picked up by any systems. People saw it with their own eyes. Strangest thing, some of the meteors seemed to change direction mid-flight." Zixlor's heart skipped a beat. He knew what this meant. The solar flare hadn't just affected Earth. It had disrupted the cloaking technology of the Galurian observation fleet in orbit. What the humans had seen weren't meteors, but his own people's ships struggling to maintain their cover. As he pondered the implications of this development, a commotion near the town hall caught his attention. A group of people had gathered around a shortwave radio, listening intently. Zixlor moved closer to hear. "Repeat, this is not a drill. Multiple unidentified objects have entered Earth's atmosphere. Military forces worldwide are on high alert. All citizens are advised to remain calm and stay tuned for further instructions." The crowd erupted in a mix of fear and excitement. Zixlor felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. The crisis had just become infinitely more complex. Over the next few days, reports trickled in from around the world. The objects, clearly not natural phenomena, had landed in various locations across the globe. Governments struggled to respond, their resources already stretched thin by the ongoing EMP crisis. In Millbrook, life took on a surreal quality. The town continued its efforts to rebuild and adapt, but now with the added tension of a potential alien presence. Zixlor found himself in the unique position of being both an insider and an outsider, watching humanity grapple with the reality of not being alone in the universe. One evening, as he sat in on a town council meeting, the discussion turned to the alien situation. Mayor Thompson looked haggard but determined as he addressed the room. "Folks, I know we're all concerned about these visitors, but we can't lose sight of our immediate needs. We need to focus on getting our town back on its feet." A voice from the back of the room called out, "But what if they're hostile? Shouldn't we be preparing to defend ourselves?" The mayor sighed. "From what we've heard, there's been no sign of aggression. They seem to be observing. For now, we'll continue to work on our recovery efforts. If the situation changes, we'll adapt." Zixlor was impressed by the mayor's level-headedness. He had expected panic, perhaps even violence at the prospect of alien visitors. Instead, he was witnessing a pragmatic approach to an unprecedented situation. As the meeting adjourned, Zixlor felt a tap on his shoulder. It was Sally, the waitress from the diner, now part of the town's food distribution team. "Dr. Smith," she said, her voice low, "can I talk to you for a moment? In private?" Intrigued, Zixlor followed her to a quiet corner. Sally looked around nervously before speaking. I saw something last night. Out in Henderson's field. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't human." Zixlor felt a jolt of panic. Had his disguise failed? But as Sally continued, he realized she wasn't talking about him. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with skin like polished metal. It seemed to be examining the crops. When it saw me, it just vanished, like it was never there. Zixlor's mind raced. He recognized the description. It was a Zentaran, another spacefaring race known for their ecological surveys. But what were they doing on Earth? "Sally," he said carefully, "have you told anyone else about this?" She shook her head. "Who would believe me? But you're a scientist. I thought, maybe you could make sense of it." Zixlor placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, marveling at how natural the gesture felt after his time among humans. "Thank you for telling me. For now, I think it's best if we keep this between us. We don't want to cause unnecessary panic." As Sally walked away, visibly relieved to have shared her burden, Zixlor felt the weight of his deception more heavily than ever. He was no longer just an observer. His actions, or inactions, could have real consequences for the humans he had come to admire. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Zixlor divided his time between helping with the town's recovery efforts and secretly investigating the Zentaran presence. He managed to establish a secure communication link with his ship, accessing Galurian databases to gather more information. What he discovered alarmed him. The Zentarans weren't just conducting an ecological survey. They were assessing Earth's viability for colonization. The solar flare and resulting EMP had masked the planet's true technological level, leading the Zentarans to believe Earth was ripe for the taking. Zixlor knew he had to act, but he was constrained by Galurian non-interference protocols. As he grappled with this ethical dilemma, he continued to work alongside the humans, marveling at their resilience and ingenuity in the face of cascading crises. One afternoon, while helping to set up a water purification system, Zixlor overheard a group of teenagers discussing the alien situation. "I bet they're way smarter than us," one boy said. "They'd probably think we're just dumb animals." A girl with fiery red hair scoffed. "So what if they're smarter? We've got heart. My dad always says it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog." Zixlor smiled to himself, once again struck by humanity's indomitable spirit. It was then that he made his decision. Protocol be damned. He couldn't stand by and watch this remarkable species fall victim to an intergalactic misunderstanding. That night, as the town slept, Zixlor made his way to Henderson's Field. Using technology far beyond human understanding, he left a message for the Zentarans, a warning that Earth was under Galurian protection, and any attempt at colonization would be met with the full might of his technologically superior race. As he finished, a voice behind him made him freeze. "I knew there was something different about you, Dr. Smith." Zixlor turned to see Mayor Thompson standing at the edge of the field, a knowing look in his eyes. For a moment, neither spoke, the weight of the revelation hanging between them. Finally, the mayor broke the silence. "I don't pretend to understand what's going on here, but I think I get the gist. You're trying to help us, aren't you?" Zixlor nodded, letting his human disguise fade away. To his surprise, Mayor Thompson didn't recoil in fear. Instead, he stepped forward, extending his hand. "Well then," the mayor said, a wry smile on his face, "welcome to Earth, neighbor. I think it's time we had a real talk about how we can work together to get through this mess." As Zixlor clasped the mayor's hand, he felt a profound shift in his understanding of humanity. These weren't just subjects to be studied. They were potential allies, friends even. And together, they just might be able to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. The crisis was far from over, but as the first light of dawn broke over Millbrook, Zixlor felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had faced its darkest hour and emerged not with fear or despair, but with determination and an open hand of friendship extended to the stars. To be continued in human ingenuity. The dawn broke over Millbrook, casting long shadows across Henderson's Field where Zixlor and Mayor Thompson stood. The revelation of Zixlor's true identity had set in motion a series of events that would test the limits of human adaptability and ingenuity. "So," Mayor Thompson said, breaking the silence that had fallen between them, "I suppose we should call a town meeting." Zixlor blinked all 6 of his eyes in rapid succession, a gesture of surprise in his native form. "You want to tell everyone?" The mayor chuckled, a sound that seemed out of place given the gravity of the situation. "Dr. Smith, or whatever your real name is, if there's one thing I've learned about people, it's that they can handle a lot more than you'd think, especially when you're upfront with them." As they walked back to town, Zixlor marveled at the mayor's calm acceptance of the situation. He had expected fear, possibly even hostility, but instead found a pragmatic willingness to face the unknown. The town hall was packed by mid-morning. Curious whispers filled the air as Mayor Thompson took the podium, Zixlor standing beside him in his true Galurian form. A hush fell over the crowd as the mayor began to speak. "Friends, neighbors," he said, his voice steady, "I know the past few days have been challenging. The EMP, the alien sightings. It's a lot to take in. But today, I have something important to share with you all. We are not alone in facing these challenges." With that, he gestured to Zixlor, who stepped forward. The crowd gasped, some recoiling in shock, others leaning in with fascination. "This is Zixlor," the mayor continued. "He's been living among us as Dr. John Smith. He's here to help us, and right now, we need all the help we can get." Zixlor surveyed the room, taking in the mix of emotions on display. Fear, awe, curiosity, and something else. Something he recognized from his time observing humans. Determination. "People of Millbrook," Zixlor began, his voice resonating with a slight metallic timbre, "I come from a world far beyond your solar system. I was sent here to observe, to learn about your species. But in my time here, I've come to understand that humanity is far more remarkable than we ever imagined." He went on to explain the situation. The solar flare, the EMP, the Zentaran threat. As he spoke, he saw understanding dawn on the faces before him. They were grasping the enormity of the situation, yet not succumbing to panic. When he finished, the room erupted in a cacophony of questions. Mayor Thompson raised his hands, calling for order. "I know you all have questions," he said, "but right now we need to focus on what we can do. We have a unique opportunity here. With Zixlor's knowledge and our own skills, we might just be able to turn this crisis into a chance for real progress." Over the next few hours, the town hall became a hub of frenetic activity. Engineers huddled with Zixlor, poring over designs for advanced technology. Farmers discussed ways to increase crop yields with alien botanical knowledge. Even the local high school science club got involved, their young minds quickly grasping concepts that would have baffled many adults. Zixlor found himself constantly amazed by the humans' ability to adapt and innovate. They took his advanced concepts and found ways to implement them using the limited resources at hand. It was a level of ingenuity he had never encountered in his studies of other species. One particularly striking example came from Sarah Chen, a local mechanic. She had been listening intently as Zixlor explained the principles behind Galurian energy conversion technology. "Hold on," she interrupted, her eyes lighting up with an idea. "What if we combine that with the old hydroelectric dam outside town? We could multiply its output tenfold." Zixlor was taken aback. He had assumed the humans would need years, perhaps decades, to grasp the applications of his technology. Yet here was Sarah, not only understanding the concept, but finding a way to apply it to their immediate needs. As the day wore on, more and more ideas flowed. The town's old radio tower was repurposed into a makeshift defense system against potential Zentaran incursions. The high school's 3D printers were put to work creating components for a town-wide renewable energy grid. Even the local gardening club got involved, using Zixlor's knowledge of extraterrestrial plants to create hyper-efficient crops that could thrive in the post-EMP environment. By nightfall, Millbrook had transformed. The air buzzed with a new energy, a sense of purpose that seemed to infect everyone. Zixlor found himself swept up in the excitement, his role shifting from observer to active participant in this remarkable human endeavor. As he helped a group of volunteers set up a new communications array, a hybrid of human and Galurian technology. Zixlor overheard two teenagers talking. "Can you believe this?" one said, her voice filled with awe. "Yesterday I was worried about my history test, and now I'm helping build alien tech." Her friend laughed. "I know, right? It's like every sci-fi movie come to life. But better, because we're the ones making it happen." Zixlor felt a warmth in his chest, a sensation he had come to recognize as pride. These humans, with their boundless enthusiasm and creativity, were accomplishing in days what might have taken his own people years. As the week progressed, Millbrook's transformation continued at a breakneck pace. The town became a beacon of innovation, drawing attention from neighboring communities. Soon, delegations from other towns were arriving, eager to learn and share their own ideas. Zixlor watched in amazement as humans from diverse backgrounds came together, pooling their knowledge and resources. A farmer from a neighboring county brought insights on sustainable agriculture that dovetailed perfectly with Galurian soil enrichment techniques. A retired NASA engineer who had been vacationing nearby offered invaluable expertise on adapting Earth technology to work with alien power sources. But it wasn't just the big technological innovations that impressed Zixlor. He found himself constantly surprised by the small creative solutions humans came up with to address everyday problems. One morning, he observed a group of children setting up what looked like a complex system of mirrors and lenses in the town square. Curious, he approached them. "What are you working on?" he asked, crouching down to their level. A young girl with braids and a gap-toothed smile looked up at him, unafraid of his alien appearance. "We're making a solar oven," she exclaimed. "Mom says we need to save power, so we figured out how to cook without electricity." As word of Millbrook's advancements spread, the town began to attract attention from beyond its immediate neighbors. Journalists braved the difficult post-EMP travel conditions to report on the miracle of Millbrook. Government officials arrived, initially skeptical, but quickly won over by the progress they witnessed. One afternoon, as Zixlor was helping to calibrate the town's new energy grid, a sleek black car pulled up. Out stepped a woman in a crisp suit, flanked by serious-looking men in dark glasses. Mayor Thompson hurried over to greet her. "Dr. Patel," he said, shaking her hand. "Welcome to Millbrook." The woman nodded, her eyes scanning the bustling activity around her. "Mayor Thompson, I'm here on behalf of the president. We've been hearing some interesting reports about your town." Zixlor tensed, unsure of how this new development would play out. But Mayor Thompson just smiled. "Well, Dr. Patel, why don't we give you the grand tour? I think you'll find we have quite a story to tell." Over the next few hours, Dr. Patel was shown around Millbrook. She witnessed the hybrid technologies, the innovative solutions, and most importantly, the spirit of cooperation that had made it all possible. Her initial skepticism gave way to amazement, and by the end of the tour, she was deep in conversation with Zixlor, discussing the potential for scaling up Millbrook's innovations to a national level. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the transformed town, Dr. Patel addressed a gathered crowd. "People of Millbrook," she began, her voice carrying a note of genuine admiration. "What you've accomplished here is nothing short of extraordinary. In the face of unprecedented challenges, you've not only survived but thrived. You've shown us what humanity is capable of when we work together, when we combine our knowledge with new ideas and perspectives." She paused, looking around at the faces before her. "The President has authorized me to offer you the full support of the federal government. We want to learn from you, to help spread your innovations across the nation. Together, we can rebuild not just to where we were before, but to create a better, more advanced society than we ever thought possible." A cheer went up from the crowd. Zixlor felt a swell of emotion he couldn't quite name. It was a mixture of pride, hope, and something else, a feeling of belonging he had never experienced before, not even on his home world. As the crowd dispersed, buzzing with excitement about the future, Mayor Thompson approached Zixlor. "Well, my friend," he said, clapping the alien on his shoulder, It looks like your little observation mission has turned into something much bigger." Zixlor nodded, his mind racing with the implications. "Indeed it has. I came here to study humanity, but I find myself learning alongside you, growing in ways I never anticipated." The mayor smiled. "That's the thing about us humans. We're full of surprises. Now, what do you say we get to work on planning the next phase? I have a feeling our adventure is just beginning." As they walked towards the town hall, now a hub of human-alien cooperation, Zixlor reflected on the incredible journey of the past few weeks. He had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive, struggling species. Instead, he had discovered a wellspring of creativity, adaptability, and indomitable spirit. The crisis was far from over. The Zentaran threat still loomed, and the challenges of rebuilding a post-EMP world were immense. But as Zixlor looked around at the bustling town, alive with purpose and innovation, he felt a surge of confidence. If any species could face these challenges and emerge stronger, it was humanity. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and purple. In the fading light, the silhouette of Millbrook stood as a testament to human ingenuity, a beacon of hope in a universe full of unknowns, to be continued in unity and diversity. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, Millbrook was already abuzz with activity. The town had become a beacon of hope in a world still reeling from the EMP crisis and the revelation of extraterrestrial life. But with progress came new challenges, and today promised to be pivotal in addressing them. Zixlor stood at the edge of town, his iridescent skin shimmering in the early morning light. Beside him, Mayor Thompson sipped from a steaming mug of coffee, a luxury made possible again thanks to the town's innovative power grid. "Big day ahead," the mayor said, his voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Are you ready for this?" Zixlor nodded, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture the townspeople had come to recognize as his version of a smile. As ready as one can be when attempting to unite a planet in the face of an alien threat. Today marked the beginning of the Global Unity Conference, an unprecedented gathering of world leaders, scientists, and representatives from all walks of life. Millbrook, with its unique blend of human ingenuity and alien technology, had been chosen as the host site. The goal was ambitious: to forge a united human response to the Zentaran threat and chart a course for Earth's future in a now undeniably cosmic context. As delegates began to arrive, the diversity on display was staggering. Traditional African garb stood out next to crisp business suits. The melodic tones of Mandarin mingled with the sharp consonants of Russian and the flowing syllables of Arabic. It was a tapestry of human culture, all converging on this small town that had become the epicenter of Earth's technological renaissance. The conference opened in the newly constructed Unity Dome, a marvel of human Galurian engineering that could accommodate thousands while running entirely on clean, sustainable energy. As the delegates took their seats, a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to the stage, where Zixlor stood alongside Mayor Thompson and Dr. Patel, now serving as the UN Special Envoy for Extraterrestrial Affairs. Mayor Thompson stepped up to the podium, his voice steady as he addressed the assembly. "Distinguished guests, leaders of the world, fellow humans, and yes, our non-human friends," he said, nodding towards Zixlor. "We gather here today facing the greatest challenge our species has ever known, but we also stand at the brink of our greatest opportunity." As the mayor spoke of cooperation and the power of diverse perspectives, Zixlor observed the reactions in the crowd. He saw nods of agreement, furrowed brows of concentration, and even some skeptical frowns. But overwhelmingly, he sensed a shared determination, a collective will to face this challenge head-on. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Workshops and panel discussions covered everything from adapting alien technology for Earth's infrastructure to the philosophical implications of humanity's place in a wider galactic community. Zixlor found himself constantly amazed by the human's ability to grapple with complex ideas and find innovative solutions. One particularly memorable moment came during a heated debate about resource allocation. Tensions were rising between representatives of developed and developing nations, each side arguing for priority in receiving new technologies. Just as the argument seemed poised to derail the entire conference, a young woman stood up. She was Aditi Gupta, a community organizer from a small village in India. With respect, she said, her voice clear and confident, "I think we're approaching this all wrong. We're not dividing a finite pie. We're creating something new together. In my village, when we face a big challenge, we don't argue about who gets what. We look at what each person can contribute." She went on to outline a plan that would use the strengths of each region, the industrial capacity of some nations, the agricultural expertise of others, the unique cultural insights of each community, to create a global network of innovation and production. The room fell silent as her words sank in. Then, slowly, applause began to build. Zixlor watched in awe as the mood in the room shifted, confrontation giving way to collaboration. This scene played out repeatedly over the course of the conference. Time and again, when conflict arose, someone would step forward with a perspective that bridged the divide. A Brazilian ecologist found common ground with a Canadian oil executive. A Japanese robotics engineer sparked a breakthrough by collaborating with a Maasai elder. Zixlor found himself revising his understanding of humanity with each passing hour. The diversity he had once seen as a potential weakness was revealing itself to be humankind's greatest strength. Each culture, each discipline, each individual brought a unique perspective that contributed to a whole far greater than the sum of its parts. As the conference progressed, concrete plans began to take shape. A global network of research and development centers was proposed, each specializing in a different aspect of human-alien hybrid technology. An international task force was formed to coordinate the planet's defenses against potential Zentaran aggression. Perhaps most ambitiously, a framework was laid out for a new type of global governance, one that would allow humanity to speak with a unified voice to the wider galactic community. But it wasn't just the big world-changing ideas that impressed Zixlor. He found himself equally moved by the small moments of human connection he witnessed. One evening, as delegates mingled at a cultural showcase event, Zixlor observed a group gathered around a table. An elderly Chinese calligrapher was demonstrating his art, his brush dancing across the paper in fluid strokes. Next to him, a young Moroccan woman was creating intricate henna designs on willing participants' hands. As Zixlor watched, he saw a stern-looking Russian diplomat approach the table. The man studied the two artists for a moment, then held out his hand to the henna artist. She smiled and began to work, covering his palm with delicate patterns. When she finished, the diplomat turned to the calligrapher and, with his free hand, picked up a brush. The two men didn't share a common language, but through art, they found a means of communication. It was a small moment, easily overlooked in the grand scheme of the conference, but to Zixlor, it epitomized the essence of humanity's strength, the ability to bridge divides, to connect across cultures, to find unity in diversity. As the conference entered its final days, a sense of cautious optimism pervaded the Unity Dome. The challenges ahead were immense, but for the first time, there was a feeling that humanity was truly united in facing them. On the last day, as delegates prepared to return to their home countries to begin implementing the ambitious plans they had crafted, Dr. Patel took the stage for a closing address. "When we arrived here," she began, "we were a fractured world, reeling from crisis and facing an uncertain future. We came from different nations, different cultures, different walks of life. We spoke different languages and held different beliefs. But look at what we have accomplished together." She gestured to the holographic display behind her, showing the global network of initiatives spawned by the conference. This is not the work of any one nation or any one group. This is the product of human diversity, of our collective creativity and resilience. As she spoke, Zixlor felt a swell of emotion he was still learning to identify. Pride, yes, but also something more, a sense of belonging, of being part of something greater than himself. Dr. Petal continued, her voice rising with passion. We face challenges unlike any our species has encountered before. The road ahead will not be easy, but I stand here today filled with hope, because I have seen what we can achieve when we come together, when we embrace our differences as a source of strength rather than division. She paused, looking out over the assembled delegates. We are no longer just citizens of our individual nations. Today, we truly become citizens of Earth, and together, united in our diversity, we will meet the future head-on. As applause filled the Unity Dome, Zixlor found himself joining in, his hands coming together in the human gesture of appreciation. He had come to Earth as an observer, expecting to study a primitive species. Instead, he had become a participant in one of the most remarkable transformations in galactic history. As the conference concluded and delegates began to depart, Zixlor stood with Mayor Thompson and Dr. Patel, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues. Well, Mayor Thompson said, a note of wonder in his voice, I'd say that was a success. Dr. Patel nodded, her expression a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. It's just the beginning, of course. The real work starts now. Zixlor turned to them, all 6 of his eyes blinking rapidly in excitement. I must admit, he said, when I first arrived on your planet, I never imagined I would witness anything like this. The way you've come together, the solutions you've devised, it's unprecedented in my experience. Mayor Thompson chuckled. That's humanity for you. Just when you think you've got us figured out, we'll surprise you. As they stood there, looking out over the transformed town of Millbrook, now a symbol of human potential and interstellar cooperation, Zixlor felt a shift in his perspective. He had come to Earth to study humans, but he now realized that his own people had much to learn from this remarkably diverse and adaptable species. The sun dipped below the horizon, marking the end of the conference, but the beginning of a new era for humanity. An era of unity and diversity, of facing cosmic challenges with the combined strength of Earth's myriad cultures and perspectives. As the first stars began to twinkle in the darkening sky, Zixlor knew that his report to the Galurian High Council would be unlike anything they had ever received. He had witnessed not just the resilience of a single town or the ingenuity of a few individuals, but the awesome potential of a united human race. The Zentaran threat still loomed, and countless challenges lay ahead. But as Zixlor looked at the determined faces of his human companions, he felt a surging confidence. Whatever the universe might throw at them, humanity, in all its beautiful, chaotic diversity, would face it together. And he, Zixlor, once a mere observer, now found himself proud to stand alongside them as they took their first steps into a wider galactic community. Revelation and departure. The weeks following the Global Unity Conference flew by in a blur of activity. Millbrook, once a quiet town off the beaten path, had become the epicenter of a worldwide renaissance. The streets buzzed with a mix of languages as scientists, engineers, and diplomats from across the globe came to collaborate on projects that would reshape human civilization. Zixlor found himself at the heart of it all, no longer just an observer, but an active participant in humanity's great leap forward. His days were filled with sharing Galurian knowledge, helping to adapt alien concepts to Earth technology, and marveling at the innovative ways humans approached each new challenge. But as Earth's defenses grew stronger and its technology more advanced, Zixlor knew his time on the planet was drawing to a close. The Zentaran threat had receded, thanks in part to the warning he had left and the rapid progress humans had made. His mission, so radically altered from its original purpose, was nearing its end. One crisp autumn morning, Zixlor stood on the outskirts of town, gazing at the transformed landscape. Solar panels glinted in the early light, interspersed with strange, twisting structures that housed human Galurian hybrid technologies. In the distance, the Unity Dome rose like a second sun, its surface shimming with energy. Mayor Thompson approached, 2 steaming mugs in hand. He passed one to Zixlor, who had developed a fondness for the bitter earth beverage called coffee. Penny for your thoughts. the mayor asked, using an idiom Zixlor had come to understand. Zixlor's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture the mayor now recognized as thoughtfulness. "I'm reflecting on the incredible journey we shared," he said. "And I'm considering what comes next." Mayor Thompson nodded, understanding the unspoken implication. "You'll be leaving us soon, won't you?" "Yes," Zixlor confirmed. "My people will be expecting a report, and with the immediate crisis averted, my continued presence here could be seen as interference." The mayor sipped his coffee, his expression a mix of sadness and gratitude. "You've changed us, you know. Not just with the technology and knowledge you've shared, but by being here, by showing us we're not alone in the universe." Zixlor turned to face his friend. "If I have changed you, Mayor, then you have transformed me even more profoundly. I came here expecting to study a primitive species. Instead, I found. He trailed off, struggling to find words to express the depth of his experience. The mayor placed a comforting hand on Zixlor's shoulder, a gesture that would have shocked the alien when he first arrived, but now felt natural. "You found friends," Mayor Thompson finished for him. "You found a second home." Zixlor nodded, feeling a strange tightness in his throat. "Indeed, and it is that discovery which I must now share with my people." Over the next few days, word spread of Zixlor's impending departure. The town organized a farewell celebration, one that quickly grew to include representatives from around the world. It was to be a showcase of how far humanity had come, and a thank you to the alien who had catalyzed so much of that progress. On the night of the celebration, the Unity Dome was transformed. Holographic displays showed the myriad projects underway across the globe. Foods from every corner of Earth were served alongside dishes inspired by Galurian cuisine. Music from diverse cultures blended together in a harmony that seemed to embody the new spirit of global cooperation. As Zixlor moved through the crowd, he was struck by how much had changed. Humans who had once recoiled at his alien appearance now greeted him warmly. Children asked for his autograph, and he obliged using both English letters and Galurian script. Dr. Patel approached, her face beaming. "Zixlor, I wanted to show you something before you leave." She led him to a secluded corner where a holographic display flickered to life. "This is a live feed from our new deep space observatory." The image showed a distant star system, unremarkable at first glance. But then Zixlor noticed something that made all 6 of his eyes widen in shock. "Is that?" Dr. Patel nodded, her excitement palpable. "Yes, it's a Galurian ship. We've been tracking its approach for the past week. It seems your people have decided to make official first contact." Zixlor felt a whirlwind of emotions: pride in humanity's rapid technological progress, anxiety about his people's reaction to all that had transpired, and a bittersweet realization that his unique role as Earth's sole alien resident was coming to an end. As the night wore on, the time came for speeches. Mayor Thompson took the stage first, recounting the incredible journey from the EMP crisis to Earth's current status as an emerging interstellar civilization. He spoke of the challenges overcome, the bonds forged, and the bright future that lay ahead. Then it was Zixlor's turn. As he stepped up to the podium, a hush fell over the crowd. He looked out at the sea of faces, human faces that had become as familiar to him as those of his own species. "People of Earth," he began, his voice carried clearly by the advanced acoustics of the dome. "When I first arrived on your world, I came as an observer, tasked with studying what we believe to be a primitive species. I expected to find beings struggling with basic technology, mired in conflict, and ignorant of the wider universe." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. "Instead, I found something remarkable. I found a species of incredible diversity, of boundless creativity, of indomitable spirit. I found a people who, when faced with unprecedented challenges, chose to unite rather than divide, who saw in crisis an opportunity not just to rebuild, but to revolutionize." Zixlor's voice grew passionate, his usual scientific detachment giving way to genuine emotion. In the span of mere months, you have accomplished what many species take centuries to achieve. You've adapted advanced technologies, restructured your global society, and prepared yourselves to take your place among the stars. But more than that, you've taught my people, the true meaning of resilience, of innovation, of unity and diversity. He felt a strange sensation in his eyes and realized with a start that he was experiencing the human phenomenon of tears. As I prepare to return to my homeworld, I go not just with data and observations, but with a message about the incredible potential of the human spirit, about the power of cooperation across boundaries of nation, race, and even species. You have changed me, profoundly and irreversibly, and through me, you will change my people's understanding of the universe. The dome erupted in applause, the sound swelling to fill every corner of the vast space. Zixlor felt overwhelmed by the outpouring of emotion, both from the crowd and from within himself. As the applause died down, Zixlor prepared to conclude his speech. But before he could continue, a commotion at the back of the dome caught everyone's attention. Dr. Patel rushed onto the stage, her face flushed with excitement. She whispered urgently into Zixlor's ear. His eyes widened, all six blinking rapidly in astonishment. He turned back to the microphone. "My friends," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I have just received news that the Galurian ship we detected has entered Earth's orbit. They are requesting permission to land." A murmur of excitement rippled through the crowd. Mayor Thompson joined Zixlor on stage, his face a mix of anticipation and determination. "Well, folks," he said, addressing the assembly, "it looks like we're about to make history again." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. As the world's leaders convened in an emergency session to formulate Earth's official response, Zixlor found himself torn between two worlds. Part of him longed to rejoin his people, to share all he had learned. But another part, a part that had grown stronger with each day spent on Earth, felt a deep connection to this adopted home and the friends he had made here. As dawn broke, a decision was reached. Earth would welcome the Galurian delegation, with the landing to take place just outside Millbrook. It was a fitting choice. The town that had been at the forefront of Earth's transformation would now be the site of humanity's first official extraterrestrial contact. Zixlor stood with Mayor Thompson, Dr. Patel, and a group of world leaders as the Galurian ship descended from the sky. Its sleek, pearlescent surface gleamed in the morning light, so different from the utilitarian human spacecraft, but now somehow less alien than it once would have seemed. As the ship touched down and its entry portal began to open, Zixlor felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Mayor Thompson, smiling warmly. "Whatever happens next," the mayor said, "know that you'll always have a home here." Zixlor blinked gratefully, too overcome with emotion to speak. He turned back to face the ship just as the first Galurian delegates emerged. To the human observers, the new arrivals looked nearly identical to Zixlor, but he could see the subtle differences, the markings that denoted rank and specialty, the slight variations in coloration that indicated diverse regional origins. His people had sent a delegation that mirrored the diversity humanity had shown at the Global Unity Conference. The lead Galurian stepped forward, its movements fluid and graceful. It spoke, its voice resonating with a musical quality that the human translators struggled to fully capture. "People of Earth," the Galurian said, "we come in peace and in admiration. Your rapid advancement and your response to the challenges you have faced have impressed us deeply. We are here to extend an invitation for Earth to join the galactic community as full and equal members." A cheer went up from the assembled crowd. Humanity, in the span of mere months, had catapulted itself from a pre-contact civilization to a recognized interstellar power. As the formal greetings and introductions began, Zixlor found himself in a unique position, a bridge between two worlds. He watched as humans and Galurians tentatively began to interact, each side curious and eager to learn about the other. In that moment, observing the first steps of what promised to be a profound interspecies relationship, Zixlor realized that his journey was far from over. He had come to Earth as an observer, become a participant in humanity's great leap forward, and now found himself a crucial link between two civilizations. The sun climbed higher in the sky, illuminating a scene that would have been unimaginable just months ago. Humans and aliens standing together on Earth's soil, the dawn of a new era of cosmic cooperation. Zixlor felt a sense of excitement and purpose unlike anything he had experienced before. His report to the Galurian High Council would not be an end, but a beginning of a grand adventure that would reshape not just Earth or Galuria, but the entire galactic community. As he stepped forward to facilitate the first official dialogue between human and Galurian leaders, Zixlor knew that the most remarkable chapter of his journey, and of humanity's story, was just beginning. The end, or perhaps the true beginning.